Hello and welcome to Experts Corner. This is Maheen Jafri. Tonight we're going to be taking a look at the very important Council of Heads of Government of the SCO, where Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar is leading Pakistan's delegation and of course representing Pakistan. Now the meeting will be attended by the heads of the government of China, Russia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, and Vice President of Iran and also Foreign Ministers of India and Pakistan, among other regional countries, along with regional and international organizations. Now, why this holds so much significance for Pakistan? Because not only Pakistan will be presenting its point of view to the world, its perspective regarding the regional and global issues, but also it will be holding bilateral meetings with the other SCO member states on the sidelines of this important summit. We're going to be taking a look at how significant would this be for Pakistan, what kind of diplomatic gains would Pakistan secure, and how would it highlight Pakistan's role as a regional key player when it comes to stability and peace in the region. In our next segment, we're going to be taking a look at the very important Bangladesh's tribunal verdict, which has declared the verdict of death sentence to ex-Prime Minister Bangladesh, HASINA, and also after convicting her of crimes against humanity. This was in connection with the 2024 student protests. Now, after this verdict, Sheikh Hasina has really issued a long statement calling this verdict rigged, biased, and politically motivated. We're going to be taking a look at what would be the impact of the verdict on internal politics and what would be the reactions internationally, and of course is this decision setting some kind of precedence in the South Asian region. Now, for more analysis, we have been joined by Farrukh k.Pitafi in our studios and also Raza, Bashir, Tarar, former ambassador. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Raza, Bashir, we know that this is a very significant Council of Heads of Government when it comes to Pakistan under SCO. How significant do you think it is, and what are we really expecting out of it?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. First of all, thank you for having me on your very interesting program. Now, there's no gainsaying the fact that the Shanghai Cooperation Organization is a very strategically significant Eurasian platform that brings together major regional powers and has obviously a very large population in terms of area, size of GDP, and an excellent forum for exchange of views by countries which happen to be in more or less similar circumstances geographically and otherwise. And Pakistan has Pakistan enhanced its profile significantly by holding a very successful SCO summit, as you would recall, in 2024. And which makes us, a significant player in the organization and puts us in an advantageous position to basically interact with other members, to compare notes, to share expertise, opinions, also to, strengthen bilateral ties by the meetings on the sidelines. So a very significant organization. And we obviously the level of participation also shows that we give it due importance. Thank you.
Right, Ambassador Sahab, it is great that you have actually already spoken about the importance of the organization. But let us talk about the importance of this summit. Of course, Russia has just taken over the organization for the year. And we know that there is a substantial discussion in regional connectivity that is going to take place. Could you actually speak about the possible outcomes of this summit, and also what exactly should Pakistan be looking for in the outcomes?
Well, Pitafi Sahab, excellent question as always. Pakistan definitely has a lot to gain and also a lot to contribute, obviously, to the discourse and the wherewithal and the modalities on of how to increase the cooperation. Now, regarding exact outcomes, obviously it's a multi-party effort, and it presupposes a lot of dedication and political will on part of all the players. Now, when we talk of SCO, I think probably given the international environment or the commentaries that it spawns, I think there is some. I mean, I wouldn't say misgivings, but basically we kind of have it at the back of our mind that it's kind of a very kind of a tag team effort, pitted against one power block or the other. So I think we must look at it primarily as a cooperative forum, and the Western, countries must also, excuse me, must also look at it with kind of in a benign way and not read anything negative into it. But then we also have to factor in what is happening, beyond the realm of SEO in the world. Russia has significant issues with the West. There are, as we speak, Americans are trying to, bring about a satisfactory solution of India's, oil trade with Russia. The Ukraine war is still going on. There are obviously uh, intra SEO issues as well. So basically, I think the countries concerned have to realize that there is a lot to be gained. There's a lot of potential, kind of like SARC, but then they have to overcome a lot of inhibitions, a lot of, I would say, backward glances and so on and so forth, and assure other countries that this is not, anything aimed at them. It is basically something for, uplifting literally the lot of billions of people. So I think with that spirit, we can move forward. Otherwise, we can have obviously a lot of declarations. There's no dearth of paper, conferences which have yielded literally tons, or these days we can say maybe terabytes of outcome documents and plans and visions and so on and so forth. But then that begs the eternal question that if we go into these summits and councils of heads of government with so much enthusiasm and with so much anticipation and curtain raising and publicity and so on and so forth, and every country does that, then why isn't something miraculous happening in terms of regional cooperation or trade or bilateral trade or or between groups of countries? So these are issues that we have to look at. Now, again, I made this point in an earlier interaction, probably with you, if my memory serves, which is that you need the bureaucracy has to obviously pull up its socks and to walk the talk. The political leadership obviously provides the political will and the necessary impetus or the push. But then there are people, people like me, let's say, who are still serving, who have to understand that they have to go beyond polemics and the platitudes and basically sometimes a lethargic approach or not really giving it the due importance, and to build upon these things so that something concrete comes out of these things. There's a fruition. Otherwise, eventually, people tend to kind of lose interest. That okay, we have this leaders meet. There are photo opportunities, and there's a lot of bonhomie, and then there are group photographs and so on and so forth. And then we start preparing for the next event. And what really happens? Messaging is very important. I think outreach to people, educating people about the potential of the organization, how it can, be useful. At the foreign ministry, well, we have quite a devoted team, which is working well under the leadership, political and the bureaucratic leadership. But I think we need to perhaps, increase the strength, the personnel strength. We have to ensure that we attend all the meetings, especially like meetings of, let's say, SCO rats and other mechanisms, which basically keeps us abreast of things, and we know what is happening. I know from personal experience that at times, because of lack of approval or something, or people not being able to attend meetings, a lot kind of tends to fall by the wayside. So we must, so it's basically, I'm sorry if I am becoming a little long-winded, but there are many moving parts and there are many things that need to be done. So the more serious we are, I'm not implying we are not serious, but then seriousness and then effort on ground that shows. All of that is very important. But if
Yeah,
we
yeah.
manage to
You're
do
talking
something,
about
imagine
homework.
the possibilities.
Absolutely. Now, we were talking about messaging is important, signaling is important, of course, the optics, as you said, are more important. But again, if we talk about the regional cooperation, you talked about that. Pakistan has done a lot when it comes to, the counter-terrorism efforts. And now Pakistan has also assumed the chair of SCO RAT. Now, how do you see Pakistan's efforts in regional cooperation?
Well, Madam, you would tend to agree that Pakistan is the only country that has actually prevailed against urban guerrilla terrorism. And we have truly shown the world how to combat the menace of terrorism and violent extremism and so on and so forth. At the same time, unfortunately, what we are seeing now is, I mean, vis-a-vis Afghanistan and also India. India is weaponizing, terrorism to basically browbeat us in regard to certain positions that we have, and they are trying to extract the cost by, let's say, trying to destabilize Balochistan. Then we have the problem of TTP, which unfortunately is, if not enjoying active support from Kabul, at least there's a wink, wink, nod, nod situation. And we find ourselves in quite a quandary. So, in this regard, I think it's very important for Pakistan to get its message across that we stand for peace. We are victims of terrorism. We are not the nursery of terrorism, as sometimes our detractors tend to imply. And we must make everybody realize that this is something, this is very destabilizing. It can, derail development efforts, and it can be very detrimental to the peace and security of Pakistan. And then, given the way Pakistan is situated geographically, if something, works to the disadvantage of Pakistan, and let me also, I say this with a very important caveat, that Pakistan is fully capable of defending itself internally and against external threats. So nobody should think that we are kind of, shivering in our boots and we are ready to compromise on certain, deeply held positions. But at the same time, obviously, it's a great distraction. Pakistan wants to and is committed to, move from geopolitics to geoeconomics. But then how do we do it? And if there are people disrupting those efforts, through these acts of terrorism, then that works to the disadvantage of everybody. If Pakistan and Afghanistan trade is not happening optimally, it harms everybody. It harms the Afghans, it harms us as well. If there is, rancor, this between the two sides, between brothers. I mean, uh, Afghans are not the brothers of Indians, uh, but they are our brothers. And maybe this is part of the issue that the similarities
The
that we have
Ambassador Sahab,
also.
Ambassador Sahab, you have actually put your finger at the nub of the gist of the problem. And it seems that while we all actually in SCO and in this region keep on talking about terrorism as a problem, every country seems to have their own definition of terrorism. India has its own perspective, Pakistan has its own, Afghanistan seems to be the center of so many activities, but then again, every country has different expectations from them. So how do you think that RATs can actually rationalize definitions and actually find a common solution which works for everybody?
Sir, thank you. Well, obviously, if you ask my personal opinion, I think that, you know, being queasy and pussyfooting and, not really calling out things as they are just compounds the problem. And unfortunately, we have been kind of tolerant. We have looked the other way while things have been, developing in our midst. And sometimes we are also blamed for, for tolerating them or letting these things get out of hand. So first of all, we have to have a moral clarity. We have to understand that the religion that we follow does not uh, tolerate or does not condone fasad fil ard or these senseless killings by any stretch of the imagination. So whatever cause that people may have, maybe there are people who see Pakistan as a grand prize. Pakistan is a very militarily, strong state with, armed with nuclear weapons. Maybe they think if they can somehow, uh, let's say, take over Pakistan. Obviously, it's an old fantasy that will never, come to fruition. Or they have some other calculus, or they think that, by these IEDs and all of these idiotic tactics, they'll bring us to our knees. That's not going to happen. But at the same time, we also have to realize that we cannot throw the baby out with the bathwater. We cannot get so carried away that we, end up killing innocent people and, causing destruction. So it has to be like a holistic effort. And in that regard, I think we need very clear outreach, very clear messaging to Afghanistan and to India as well. I mean, the whole world knows that when Pahalgam happened, we volunteered to cooperate. Who does that? If, God forbid, if Pakistan were the quote unquote, the responsible state, why would Pakistan be so enthusiastic to basically have a proper investigation done? But then Modi Saab, for him, it was not a matter of people dying and all that. For him, the grand prize was that he wanted to ingratiate himself with the electorate, which unfortunately he has turned into a mad mob by using these polemics and abusive language against Muslims. And him and his cohorts are basically propagating that Muslims are, God forbid, some kind of a scourge that is basically, I think one of them said that once the Muslims touch 30% of a population, then they take over a country. So these things have to be, to be frankly talked about, that this is not what we stand for.
Absolutely, these things need to be talked about. When we take a look at the situation between Pakistan and Afghanistan, we know how the dialogue process is halted, and we also know that Russia has offered mediation when it comes to, Pakistan and Afghanistan. Do you think that Russia is really going to impress upon the Afghan Taliban regime, since we know that we are going to be holding bilateral meetings on the sidelines of this important summit as well?
A very important question. And first of all, I think the more the merrier. I'm sure Russia can play a very constructive role. And let us not forget that Russia has a huge stake in the situation of Afghanistan. If you look at any document of the UNODC, Office on Drug and Crime, you would notice that Russians are extremely worried about the this proliferation of narcotics originating from Afghanistan, and then the instability, and then the links that the non-state actors have, who have their dreams of God knows taking over the world and doing God knows what with it. So definitely, and Russia is a very important country. It has extremely important, valuable experience of dealing with extremism, with terrorism. They know how to pacify and control these situations. So certainly, I think they can play a very important role. Other friends have been playing an important role, and I think there is a willingness to talk. But we must also realize that it's a very significant and a very delicate process. So my appeal to our leadership also would be that let's go easy on the tweets and let's not jump the gun.
Ambassador Sir, because for a long time it has been so that everybody kept on expecting Pakistan to do more. But when it came to them, they always exhibited lack of patience. And I totally get the importance of dialogue when you are actually talking about it. My concern is that it seems that at times we are asked to do the impossible in patience, that we have to just keep on waiting. The other side, of course, has been harboring certain elements that have to be actually taken out. If they don't do it, Pakistan will have to do it. Why is it that it becomes a deal breaker? We have seen what India does. We have seen other countries doing exactly that thing. So why can't we actually act on our interests, sir?
Oh, no, definitely. You see, my submission is that it has to be done as carefully as possible. And obviously, the other day I had the pleasure of, listening to Mr. Ejaz Haider, about the situation in Afghanistan. He, as you know, is a very knowledgeable person on the subject. And basically, he made a very important point that in diplomacy or in interstate relations, the principle of linear causality doesn't always apply. So basically, like if I shoot a bullet, it's going to do what it always does. But then when it comes to, interstate relations or, convincing others of your point of view, the bullet logic does not always, hold good. If that were the case, then the United States, look at the devastation they caused in Vietnam and in Iraq and then in Afghanistan and also Pakistan, quite frankly. It did not do the trick. Now, I'm not saying that you should just, sit and sort of sing songs while the other, party is kind of bombing you. But it has to be, I hate this cliche, the carrot and stick thing. So it has to be like an approach in which obviously you apply kinetic force, but you're also open to the possibility of taking a step back and then giving, negotiations a chance. So let's not lose hope in that. And yes, if negotiations break down, there have to be consequences. Obviously, Pakistan is deeply, hurt and scarred, and we feel betrayed. Obviously, I don't want to say anything polemical about my Afghan brothers, but we have sacrificed a lot, and they not that we want to extract any big gratitude from them, but at least there should be some empathy that we too have.
We want you to stay online with us. We are joined by Teymur Shafir, analyst from Russia. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Teymur Shafir, thank you so much for joining us. Now, this is something very significant, Eurasian platform. Of course, we are talking about Council of Heads of Government, SCO. How significant, number one, and second, what are the agenda items?
Well, the SCO was actually established not yesterday, but a few years ago. And SCO was established not like a contradiction, not like a offensive organization. FCO was actually established as organization that will deal with economic cooperation between Russia, China, and Pakistan, and many other things, and many other countries. So as long as it exists, the FCO will continue to do its job.
Also, Teymur Shafir, since you talked about the economic gains, we know that this is a very important body when it comes to decision making, number one. And second, it also guides in terms of commerce, trade, businesses, socio-economic opportunities. What kind of economic opportunities lie there for the countries, especially Pakistan?
There are the best economic values that we can imagine. Yeah, like Pakistan, we can imagine. We just can take a look at the world map, and we can see that Pakistan is the country that will have a joint community, joint links with all the Eurasia. All the Eurasia is including Russia and European, like I would say, economic union. That is it. So I don't see any contradiction between looking at the Pakistan, taking at the Pakistan on the world map, and taking off the Pakistan of the world map, and taking off the Pakistan from the political world map.
Right. Mr. Jafri, since we are talking about economic integration and cooperation, it seems that there have been many projects which have been in the pipeline for quite some time. For example, TAPI was there, Eurasian bloc is one of those, North-South as well. And of course, in the past, IP was also supposed to connect, and various other projects. Do you think that in coming days, because of SCO, we are going to see some progress on those projects? That is one question. And secondly, we keep on hearing about the SCO economic bonds. Could you elaborate on that as well?
Yes, first of all, exactly. That's a very good question. No matter how different the economic projects would differ one from each other, but in any way, Pakistan will be one of the most important and one of the most joint parts of these projects. If we take into account like northern project or southern project or this one or that one against pipelines, we can see one and very strict and very obvious point. The Pakistan is always there. So taking into account the Pakistan as one of the starting point of these economical projects, we can work it out. The second question is, of course, it's very difficult to predict it now how it will end. It's very difficult to predict it now how I would say the digital. I would say the digital economy would work out, but in this kind of prediction, we can take into account, first of all, we can take into account the population of any country. And while we take into account the Pakistan, it's one of the first, it's on the top.
Right. Also, Pakistan strongly believes in multilateralism, and when it comes to the Shanghai spirit of mutual trust and shared responsibilities, how do you see Pakistan aligning with all those values?
Yeah, the Pakistan has a very good point. The Pakistan has a very good point of being a multilateral, but being a I would say multi-joinable uh, uh, agenda point maker. You know that the Pakistan is the very important player in the Karabakh, in the situation among the Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Armenia. We take it in the we can say that's Western Asia. The Pakistan is very close to the Central Asia republics of what we usually call former Soviet republics. The Pakistan is very close to like Mongolia and China and so etc. etc. So the Pakistan actually is the country we don't take into account nowadays. We don't take into account in this talk. We don't take into account the population and economical development, etc., etc. We take into account the geographical point of the Pakistan, geographical location of the Pakistan that can actually become a very interesting and very useful point of view of that very Belt and Road project.
Right. Mr. Shafir, because you are in actually the Russia right now, and we have heard that Russia has also offered its good offices to help, Pakistan and Afghan Taliban reconcile over the disputes that are there. Could you actually elaborate how Russia or Moscow can play a constructive role in this aspect?
Yes, of course. It's a very difficult question, and it's very difficult political question, actually. But the Moscow is taking, I think, one of the most important steps that it can take for now. The Moscow started to talk with the Taliban. The Moscow start not to talk with the Taliban, but with its other counterparts, including the Pakistan, including the India, including the Iran, and including the other actually counterparts. And if we see and if we try all these steps, if we use all these steps in joint, we can finally, I hope very much, we can finally find a decision that we'll use the Pakistan.
Also, Teymur, when we talk about Pakistan redefining its relationship when it comes to not only hosting such big events, also being a part and engaging in such events, how is it redefining its relationship with important key players like Russia and China as, as a country that could be relied upon as a cooperative partner?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Even if we take a look at the world map, we see the Pakistan as one of the heartlands. We see the Pakistan as one of the major parts that connects the Afghanistan through the Russia, that Afghanistan that connects the China to India, etc., etc., etc. The Pakistan actually is the heart of this process. So as long as we keep the Pakistan as the heart, as the beating heart of this process, we will see the most beating out the results of this process.
Also, Teymur Shafir, how do you see the diplomatic stature of Pakistan? You've seen quite some achievements. Pakistan has made a name. Pakistan has done some really great efforts when it comes to the global stage. And as you were rightly pointing out, that it is an important member of the SCO, and we are expecting a lot from Pakistan now. How do you see its rising regional influence?
Yes, of course. It's obvious that the Pakistani government and the Pakistani diplomats are doing the best actually they can. And actually, the last, I would say, 10 years or 15 years have been the epic, the top of the Pakistani diplomacy activity. The Pakistan has made its activity, has settled down its activity on the northern Caucasus region. The Pakistan has played its role in the cooperation between not only the like Russia and Central Asian republics, but also the Russia and the European Union. So the Pakistan has playing a great role, and actually I would hope, and I would very much hope, that Pakistan would be one of the best mediators that would continue to play its role in the future negotiations of a very, very different, difficult, I would say, cooperation between the West and East.
Right. Ambassador Raza, coming to you, how do you see Pakistan addressing its challenges, since it would be talking about the regional issues, the global issues? We have talked about the terrorism, but what about the challenges like climate change and food security?
Jafri, you have raised a very important raised very important points, and I have a bit of an inkling from personal experience. I have served in Nairobi, which is the headquarters of the UN Environment Program, and I had the honor of serving on the bureau, and later on also on the bureau of the Environment Assembly. So I would say that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I think we have to give more importance to the efforts to combat climate change or to mitigate the effects of, environmental degradation and so on and so forth. So in that regard, I think we need perhaps a bigger ministry of climate change and also a bigger mission in Nairobi. But obviously, that will come when it will come. Meanwhile, I think we should make use of the available mechanisms. So I think there's a lot that we can learn from each other under the SCO on the SCO platform. There's a lot that we can gain by sharing of experiences. Floods and extreme cold, extreme heat, droughts are becoming kind of a norm in our region. And we are, unfortunately, I was just reading yesterday that the world is well on its way to the devastating point of, 2.6 degrees rise in temperature. So these are not trifling matters. Climate change can literally stultify all our efforts at development and, human security. And there's a lot that we can do, and we should make use of the platform. But then again, going beyond the talk, walking the talk, being serious, and for example, I mean, just off the top of my head, floods are becoming kind of a routine now. So we must be working on what ought to be done between now and, God forbid, the next flood. But when the waters subside, we seem to just go about our routine things. So these are extremely, grave problems that face us, and we must, basically pay them way more attention than we are doing right now. And obviously, the government's heart is in the right place. We make all the right noises. We, attend events, different COPs, so on and so forth. We have forcefully projected our view that Pakistan is a victim of climate change. We have no contribution in, polluting the world or the oceans or, other things. But there's a disproportionate brunt that we are bearing. So in that regard, I think the countries which bear the responsibility because of the profligacy of the situation that the world finds itself in. In that, Pakistan is a victim, and we all we need help, and we must also,
We need to learn a lot from these systems. Of course, thank you so much, Raza, Bashir, Tarar, former ambassador, and Teymur Shafir as well, analyst, joining us from Russia all the way and letting us know the importance of the event that's happening and letting us know the agenda items that would be discussed most probably. And now we'd move towards the second segment, which is of equal importance. It was Bangladesh's tribunal declared verdict of handing a death sentence to former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. How could this verdict really impact the internal politics of the Bangladesh? And what would be the international response? Also, we know that Bangladesh's ex-Prime Minister has really issued a long statement saying that this verdict is biased, rigged and politically motivated. How politically motivated does it seem to you, Farrukh Pitafi?
Right. Thank you very much for the question. I think that one important thing to remember, because you know, Bangladesh is a very close ally of Pakistan now, and we are friends and brothers. So I usually do not actually comment on friendly countries and their internal politics. But the fact is that there was a humongous change that came, and during that change, some 1,400 people were killed, and they were trashed brutally, and we saw that all the orders were coming from where? From the Prime Minister's office. Generally speaking, historically, I haven't been a big critic of Hasina Wajid because her economic policies sort of kind of made sense to me. But then we saw the spirit of Bangladeshi people who actually wanted change, and that change was denied to them. So naturally, whenever there's an overthrow, so much so that somebody actually escapes from the country and goes to another country, India. By the way, in India, she was not allowed to leave that base where she had actually taken, refuge for a long time. She was practically under arrest there also. But because she was there, she had left, and there are consequences for every action, and because she ordered so much killing, there had to be some kind of reckoning, and that has actually played out, and you have now seen verdict. Regarding the world's assumption or world's perception, to be honest, world seems to be actually not worrying too much about Bangladesh's politics, because they know it is messy politics. And what Ms. Hasina Wajid did was actually really, really dangerous for that country and other countries also.
Of course. Farrukh Pitafi, what could be the impact when we talk about the Awami League opposition party? Do you see that this verdict was some kind of a precedent set for them when it comes to justice and democracy, internally or internationally?
Yeah. Internally, of course, they have many precedents, of course. It has been going on for quite some time. Bangladesh's politics is, because they were once part of us, they're more or less like us. Their politics also has this very aggressive part where one party actually tries to dominate, and then the other side actually takes over, and then finally army is dragged in also. But in the end, we have seen that there's no dearth of precedents in Bangladesh's history. When you talk about regional, look, had you asked me this question 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I would have said definitely it is going to draw a line in the sand that any country, any leader who does this to their own people will be taken to task. But since then, I have been disabused of the notion, because whatever has been happening in India, whatever has been happening in so many other countries.
So much happening in the regional politics.
I don't see that arc of moral universe actually bends towards justice. So I think that it is long, but it doesn't bend, it keeps on going.
So now what options do you see with the ex-Prime Minister Hasina? What is she going to, do next in terms of the legal action?
Yeah, I earlier said Ms. Wajid, she is Mrs. Wajid, but Mrs. Hasina Wajid actually is there. Of course, her entire family is scattered. I don't, first of all, it is Bangladesh which will actually demand that she be actually turned over. But I don't think India is going to play ball. So in the end, what she does is, I think she will stay in India for now. If she decides to go back to her country, of course, she at the risk of being prosecuted and going to the courts, she might actually get her fair hearing. But people who actually flee their country, they are not actually seeking justice. They are fleeing the consequences. So I think that for the time being, it is an impasse. But domestically, because there is going to be an election, And when an election takes place in Bangladesh, we know which forces are dominating now, which are more popular. So they are going to actually dominate for now, and she will be for the time being forgotten because they got it out of the system and she is stuck somewhere else. So
Right.
that's it.
Farrukh Pitafi, are we seeing any riots again happening from the supporters of Hasina Wajid on the streets, the chaos again?
Actually, that is a very interesting question because in the past 1 year, 2 years, you could have anticipated something of that kind, right? But whatever she had, whatever energy, power she had, she actually ended up expending it in trying to survive. Because at that time she went beyond the pale, right? Because of that, there was so much reaction. You have seen the video today, right?
Of the verdict, yeah.
Of the verdict. When it was announced, everybody was cheering and clapping, right? So there seems to be huge pushback against her party at this moment. I don't see how her party can be influential enough at this moment to carry out any kind of rights. I think that, of course, other parties which are in power or at least supporting the government at this moment, if they were wronged, they would have actually resorted to some kind of violence, but not this one.
Farrukh Pitafi, you mentioned the term pushback. Do you see it happening democratically, or it was a kind of rebellion when we see people, so fed up of one government or their policies, and then, there's a kind of rebellion in them?
Yeah, that is the most amazing part, right? In South Asia, because in South Asia, all countries, including ours in India, we are post-colonial states, right? And because of that, at that time, there was a colonial model through which governance was done, which essentially was based on two uses. One, using bureaucracy. The second one was to dominate. When you actually go for dominance, what happens? In India, they have practically blocked the way of course correction. There can't be any change, right? Without any kind of kinetic use of force or any kind of uprising, nothing can change, right? Similarly, in Pakistan, there were attempts also in the past, right? So when you block the way of change, legitimate path of change, in the end, what happens? In Bangladesh, we saw. In Pakistan also in the past, we have seen similar kind of things.
Absolutely.
So in Bangladesh, I think that whatever is happening right now, it is essentially people's sentiment which has played out.
Right. Thank you very much, Farrukh Pitafi, for this detailed analysis of what's really happening in Bangladesh after the tribunal's verdict of death sentence to ex-Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. And we know these kind of things happen when there's a strong pushback from the people, when they kind of get tired from the government and the policies. But situation right now is at impasse. We still have to see how it unfolds, how the international community responds, and what are the options with ex-Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. This is all for tonight's show. It's Maheen Jafri signing off.